So in the last class, we discussed about cloud computing. So what is meant by cloud, and what are the different services that are, what are the different cloud service providers that we have, like AWS, Azure, GCP, Google Cloud Platform, Oracle Cloud, like that. We are having so many public cloud service providers. And then we understood the path. So what is a path to learn the cloud computing? What are the different technologies that are available? Like when you see here, first of all, you have to go with the Linux, AWS, DevOps, Kubernetes, GCP, if possible, Azure, GCP, and finally Python. This is the path that I have specified you in the last class. And then we discussed about the configuration related to our and we discussed about the configuration related to our what I can say. So, and then what is meant by cloud? Why we have to use the cloud? What is the main hurdles? What is the main limitations that we will face whenever we go with the on-premises environment? And then when we go for the cloud environment, what are the helpful methods that we can access our servers very fastly? These are all the things that we have discussed in the last class. So I just provided you a small demo of what is cloud, and just the basic concepts, just how to learn cloud. These are the concepts that we have seen in the last class. So today we will be discussing about accessing the remote resources, accessing of remote resources in the sense, for example, if you see here, the servers, whatever the servers that you are accessing, I don't know how many professionals are there and how many people are working people are there. I don't know about that. But have you ever seen any servers in your company? For example, no employee will sit besides the servers and access the servers. For each and every company, for each and every MNC, or else for any small scale industries, any type of company, if you want to access the servers, your company servers will not be inside your company. Then where will be our servers? The servers will be outside of our company. They will be created inside a data center, inside a facility called as data center. So inside a physical facility called as data center, inside the data center, we will have multiple physical servers. First of all, we will have racks, and inside the racks, we will have some physical servers, and inside the physical servers, we will have the virtual servers. Here, the concept, I think this is the new word for you. I don't know, maybe for a few, I think it might be a new word, that is virtualization. I may guess this is the new word for maximum number of people. Virtualization. What is meant by this virtualization? In general, whatever the cloud, the entire cloud, whatever the cloud services that you are accessing, and whatever the EC2 instances, if you go for Azure virtual machines and GCP servers, whatever the instances, servers, or virtual machines, whatever you are using, all are the virtual servers only. They are not the physical servers. So here we have to understand what is the difference between physical and virtual servers. Now, if you go back to the previous days, we used to have only physical servers where there will be the physical RAM. So you can have some 16 to 32 GB or 64 GB, 128 GB, depending upon your requirement. There will be huge amount of RAM specifications will be there. Huge RAM will be there inside your physical servers. But later on, whenever we are going further, but the problem here is, if at all a server that is coped up with some of like 64 GB of RAM inside a physical server, inside this physical server, for example, if you think this is the physical server, 64 GB of RAM and somewhere like 4 CPU are there. Okay. Now, inside this physical server, I can deploy any single application, which is having the databases and all the things. I can deploy a single application. For that application requires only 12 GB. Suppose, for example, 16 GB of RAM. Okay, 16 GB of RAM and one CPU is more than enough for you. But what about the remaining resources? So if you see here, among 64 GB, the application is using only 16 GB of RAM. But what about the remaining resources? They are wasted. For example, you are having a very big home. You are having a very big home where you are having 4 rooms, like 4 bedrooms. Okay, or else 3 bedrooms, triple bedroom flat is there. Triple bedroom flat is there. And for you, there is a hall, kitchen, 3 bedrooms, whatnot. It is a very huge house is there. But inside that house, you are the only people who are residing. You are the only person who are residing. So for you, only a single bedroom flat is more than enough, or else one RK is more than enough for you. Okay, but you don't require that 3-bedroom flat. But we have purchased you, but your parents gave you that 3-bedroom flat. What you have to do now? So you have to use it optimizely. So how we can do that? So what I am going to do here is I will make some partitions. Whatever the three-bedroom flat is there, I am going to do some partitions. And now, yes, this is the second session. In the last class, we discussed, we have gone through some of the basic content. Now we are discussing, this is also basics only. So just try to focus on this. I will give you some time, like 15 minutes for your queries. We will discuss about all those things in that session. Just concentrate on this concept.
Sure.
Now, yeah. Now, whenever we are going for this virtualization, the physical server, whatever the physical server, now as we are taking an example of that very big flat is there. So what you are going to do, you are going to make some partitions and you will rent the flat for the any bachelor, so that you will get the money as well as you can optimizely use your resources. In the same manner, this is the physical server which I am having. Inside this physical server, I'm using only one application, which is what I can say, which is consuming a very less resources, and the rest of the resources are getting wasted. So to overcome this problem, and if I want to deploy any another application, what company has to do? Company has to purchase the another server. You can ask me like this, sir, why it is the necessity? If at all the application is requesting only 16 GB, then why we have to purchase 64 GB? Suddenly, if the load on the server is increased, so then automatically we have to increase the resource capacity also. So again, we cannot go and purchase the RAM. If the load increases, again I have to go and purchase the RAM. So to overcome this, what I am doing, I am purchasing a very big server, so that for the next time onwards, whenever the load increases, I don't need to go back and purchase the resources. For that, I am purchasing at a time. But when I purchase at a time, there is a problem like this. So to overcome this problem, what we have, so into the IT industry, we got a revolutionary change that is called as virtualization. So here in virtualization, what you can do here is you can have a physical server. On the physical server, you can create a operating system, or else you can create a software layer, that is virtual layer. So into that virtual layer, you can create your virtual machines. What is the meaning of that? For example, this is your physical server. Okay, this is the physical server which you are having. Now, what I am going to do here is onto the physical hardware, or else onto the physical server, I am going to install a application. This is your virtualization application. Either it might be VMware ESXi, either it might be Citrix, or else if you go for the another type of virtualization, you can use VMware, VirtualBox, like that. You will be having so many applications for virtualization. Now, what I'm going to do here is, on this software, I can create my virtual servers. These are the virtual servers which I am creating. So this is VM1, and which can have the guest operating system. Okay, so you can have multiple virtual machines like this. Okay, so these virtual machines, whatever we are deploying, these virtual machines will have the resources from the physical machine. So whatever the RAM that we have on the physical machine, I have 64 GB of RAM on the physical machine. Among the 64 GB of RAM, the virtual machine will be accessing that hardware. So if I specify 4 GB of RAM for a server, so from 64 GB, the virtual machine will be utilizing 4 GB of RAM. And I can create another server, and this server will be utilizing some 8 GB of RAM from the physical hardware itself. And this server may be utilizing some 16 GB of RAM from the physical hardware itself. So the virtual machines, whatever you created, these virtual machines are created in the software layers, and they will be accessing the hardware resources. So if I have to show you in a practical manner, if you can see, this is my physical computer, which is where I have installed my Windows operating system on the Windows operating system. Now this is called as host operating system. So whatever the physical on your physical hardware, whichever the operating system that you install, that is called as host operating system. And onto that operating system, I installed a virtualization software. This is called as VMware Workstation. Now, I don't want to say about this VMware and all the things, but for your understanding, I'm saying, if you see the resources, see that 14 GB of resources occupied for my remaining applications. Now, when I turn on this virtual machine, when I power on this virtual machine, automatically the resource utilization will be increased. The RAM utilization will be slowly increased to somewhere like 16 GB or else 18 GB, depending upon the process that we are doing inside the virtualization. See that slowly the RAM size is the RAM. So the RAM is completely occupied. Okay, so this can be happened because the virtualization, the virtual machine is running in the background. So which means that here I can have the clear-cut statement that these virtual machines are accessing my physical hardware. So to make optimized use of my physical servers, I can go for the virtualization concept, where you can run your Linux operating system on a Windows server, or else Windows operating system on a Linux machine, depending upon the virtualization, and depending upon the guest OS you require, depending upon the application requirement also, you can select the guest OSs. So this is called as virtualization. So this virtualization made a tremendous change in the IT industry, and this is the main root cause for your cloud formation or else cloud infrastructure. So the entire clouds, whatever the clouds that you are using, either it might be AWS, Azure, GCP, any cloud that you are using, all these clouds are using the virtualization concept only. On virtualization only, you are getting your instances, or else you are getting your resources. So, for example, AWS is using Citrix, or else it is creating its own virtualization concept. Okay. So like that, depending upon the cloud, the virtualization may differ. The usage, the different softwares may be used for the virtualization, but the backend is same. They are going to use the virtual machines. So Azure is using VMs and AWS using EC2 instances. So this is the main point for your cloud. So how cloud has become very user friendly, because cloud can use the virtualization very efficiently to give the resources for the users. So that is about your virtualization. Now, these servers are not available besides the users. So user is sitting in Hyderabad and he is working from Madhapur location. He is working from high tech city, or else he is working from somewhere in Bangalore. So the servers will not be beside the user or else beside the employee. Okay, the servers will be locating at somewhere like US location or else UK location. In India, if you take in Mumbai location, or else they will be in different regions. So now what has to be happened? The user from India, he has to access the user in the sense the employee. If he want to deploy any application in the server, deploy means create any application or else install any application in the server, then the server is located in US location and the user is sitting in India location. Now from India location, the user has to transfer the data all over to the US location servers. So if he has to transmit that, first of all, he need to establish a communication. He need to establish the communication with the server, and server has to respond for the user queries. So this will be happen with the help of a concept called as networking. Here comes the concept called as networking. Okay, so today we have seen, so up to now, whatever the topics that we covered, we have seen about the virtualization. Now we are getting into the networking concepts. So did you understand the concept of virtualization? Do you have any doubts about that? Any questions? Response, please, or else you can put your responses in the chat box.
Hello.
Yeah.
Sir, just now I joined, sir. Will you please brief?
No problem. I will tell you about that. I will completely brief about the entire session in the last. You will understand that. But apart from this, any another questions regarding today's class?
No,
Nothing, sir.
Yeah, fine. So when we go back to the next one, networking. First of all, so whatever the virtualization that we discussed, this is not a similar topic. There is no connection between the virtualization and the networking. Of course, when you go for the configuration, you can have the connectivity, but as of now, this is the separate topic which we are going into. Network. So today we will be completely learning about the networking concepts. What is meant by a network? So you want to call, just take a scenario. You want to call your friend. You want to call your friend. How can you call your friend? That's the question. To call my friend, I need to have two devices. Either I can have a cell phone like mobile, or else I can have a landline. Okay, that's well and good. If I have two devices, that's more than enough. No, I need to have a connectivity. Either it can be wide connectivity or wireless connectivity. If I am using telephones, landlines, then I can have the wide connectivity. If I am using cell phones or mobiles, I can have the wireless connectivity. So if the connectivity is there, then I can communicate. No, I need to have the mobile numbers, mutual friends, or else I need mutually we need to have both our numbers. So my friend has to have my number and I have to have his number to make the call, to make the communication. Now, what are the necessary things here? First of all, to establish the communication, first thing is that we require the devices. And the second one is connectivity. Connectivity that is either through wide or wireless, and some logical numbers. Logical numbers. Either it might be mobile number. So these are the three requirements which need to be fulfilled to make the communication with the opposite person. Now, when you come to the devices in the computer technology, the devices are nothing but your computers or servers. So one computer wants to communicate with the another computer, or else one server wants to communicate with the client, or else one server wants to communicate with the another server. So every server, any device that needs to make the communication, that will come under the device category. And connectivity, we will use the LAN cables, or else fiber optic cables, or else wireless radio frequency waves. These are all will comes under the connectivity, wired and wireless connectivity. And logical number, we will discuss about this logical number. So first of all, we have to understand what is meant by a network. Connection of multiple devices with the help of a connectivity, or else connection of multiple devices with the help of a transmission media. Either it might be a wide media, or else it might be a wireless media, is called as network. Connecting two or more devices with the help of a transmission media is called as a network. And establishing the communication is called as networking. We will discuss about that. So here, how two devices will be communicating? I have two servers, or else I have two computers. If two computers are connected with the help of a cable, then we can transmit the data. No, we cannot transmit the data. For example, I have a mobile phone and my friend is having a mobile phone, and we have the connectivity also. If I don't have his number, if I don't have my friend's mobile number, can I call him? I cannot call him. And if my friend doesn't have my mobile number, he cannot call me. So these numbers are very important. So without the numbers, we cannot call. Okay. So in the same manner, of course, we are connected to each other. We are, as we have the signals and as we have the devices, we are connected to each other. But the communication cannot be established until we both have our numbers. In the same manner, if server 1 wants to communicate with any client, both the client system and as well as the server system need to have the logical number. That logical number, we will call it as an IP address. The logical number which we are using is called as an IP address. So IP protocol address. IP means internet protocol address. Actually, there are two types of IP addresses. One is IPv4 and the other one is IPv6. We are completely focusing on IPv4. Why? Because IPv6 is not into the functionality right now. We don't have the IPv6. Of course, so for some mobiles, we have the IPv6, but still majority of the companies, or else majority of the service providers are still not using the IPv6. Maybe after my son's generation, we can have after 60 or else after 50 odd years, we can have the utilization of IPv6 completely. But as of now, we don't have the IPv6. Very much utilization is not there for IPv6. We are completely focused on the IPv4 only. We can focus only on the IPv4 addresses. To make IPv4 understanding, my request for you is that I will discuss about this IPv4 But if you want to learn in-depth IPv4 analysis, my request for you is that please go through the binary to decimal number conversion. You can have a clear-cut understanding. If I have to go with the basics, I can say basics only. But if you want in-depth analysis of IP address, sir, what is the necessity of learning IP address? So the most important question that to be answered here is, sir, we are learning cloud. We are learning cloud. Then what is the necessity of learning IP addresses? Of course, you are learning cloud. Cloud means it's a virtualization. It's a virtual resources, which means that they are not visible to you. They are located in some XYZ locations, like in US, UK, or else Indian servers will be there. And you can have like what I can say is there will be several entities in the sense you can have the databases, you can have the servers. To make the communication with all those things, definitely you need to have an idea about the IP addresses. Without having the knowledge of IP addresses, it is difficult to find out the answers for your questions, how we are making the communication. If you want to find out the answer for that, it is very difficult for you. So let me show you a small example so that you can have a clear-cut understanding why I have to learn IP addresses. So I will log into my server first, or else I will log into my console first. If you can see here, whenever I am deploying any server, so with the server, I can have my IP addresses. Okay, so I'll go to the EC2 instances. If I deploy a server, just try to understand here, I am deploying a server here. Yeah, one instance is running. Okay, UK server is running. That's well and good. So if I want to access that, see that I have the public IPv4 address. Without this IPv4 address, I cannot make the communication. Here we have the private IPs. There are two types of IPs. One is public IP and the other one is private IP. We will get into that. But as of now, definitely you need to have a brief understanding about IP addresses. Without IP addresses, you cannot make the communication. So if I want to access this server, just try to understand. And when we go in depth into the AWS, you can have a clear-cut understanding how we are accessing the servers. But as of now, I will copy this IP address and go to Putty. This is a Putty application. I will discuss about each and everything. But as of now, just understand we are into the basics only. So I am accessing the server. So the server is created in London location, but I am sitting in India, Hyderabad location. I am able to access the London server. So which means that with the help of IP address only, I can make the connections. Without the IP addresses, I cannot make the connection. To make you understand all these things, you need to go through the IP addresses concepts. If you don't have, I don't want very big. So if you say that, sir, we don't want to get in depth into the IP addresses, then we can go with the flow itself. Similar to just I can give a briefing about the IP address and then we can go. If you want to go for the in-depth analysis of IP addresses, how IP addresses are came and all the things, then my request for you is that learn decimal to binary conversions, which will be very helpful for you to understand what are the IP addresses, why we are using only 255 IP addresses only. These are all the concepts you will come to understand them. So if you see here, the IPv4 address, I am discussing about the IPv4 address. Okay, IPv4 is a 32-bit logical address. So whenever we discussing about the bits, so the bits will be in the form of binaries, that is ones and zeros. The bits means ones and zeros. So it will be in the binary format. So what I am saying, it is a 32-bit logical address. And when we go for the IPv6, we are not getting into the IPv6, but as we are discussing about the IPv4, I just want to give a small definition about the IPv6. It is a 128-bit logical address. Okay, so IPv4 is 32-bit and IPv6 is a 128-bit logical address. Now we will be completely into the IPv4. This 32 bits, whatever the 32 bits are there, these 32 bits are divided into 4 portions. So why, sir, why the 32 bits are, that 32 bit has to be divided into 4 portions? If you divide 32 by 4, so what is the value that you are going to get? 32 divided by 4 equal to 8. So for each portion, you will have 8 bits. So 8 bits in the computer terminology or else computer technology, 8 bits equal to what is the size of 8 bits? how you can call 8 bits as? If you are a very good at this computing and all the things, you will know 8 bits equal to, it's a basic question. You can provide your answer in the chat box.
1 byte.
Exactly, 8 bits equal to 1 byte. So that is the reason why we are converting that 1 byte of information will be there whenever you are having this IPv4 into that 32 bits into 4 portions. You will have 8 bits, and each portion will have a 1 byte of data. So which means that in each and every portion you will have 8 bits. Okay, so either it might be 8 ones or else 8 zeros, or else it might be combination of ones and zeros. Okay, so here comes the part ones and zeros. So tomorrow, please try to come, please go through the concepts of binary to decimal conversions. So I don't want to say them here. Please go through the binary to decimal conversions. If you go through that, we can understand. You can understand. So the starting IP address range will be, the starting number will be 0, and the end number of your IP addresses will be 255. 255 will be the end number. Why 255? If you divide this, or else if you convert this decimal number, this is the decimal number which you are seeing. If you convert this 255 decimal number into binary number, then what is the binary value that you are going to get here is 8 ones. So you are going to get 8 ones. So whenever you are converting this, 8 ones means the largest number will be the 255. So the IPv4 will be ranging from 0 to 255 in each and every portion. So 255.255.255.255. The starting IP address will be 0.0.0. So this is the starting IP address, and this is the end IP address. And after that, we don't get 256th number. Why? Because we don't have 256 in the IP addresses. So we will have only up to 255. So this is what I can say. Okay, this is about your IP address. You can have from 0 to 255. When you go back to the next one, the IP addresses are of two types. One is public IP, and the other one is private IP. Public IP and private IP. So when you go for the public IP, the IP addresses which are utilized on the internet. So in the internet, those are called as public IPs. And the IP addresses that are utilized inside the organization, those are called as private IPs. So the local IPs are called as private IPs, and the global IPs are called as public IPs. Sir, we are unable to understand. So, for example, there is a person called as Murali. So the name of the person is Murali. So inside his home, instance, when he is in the home, he will not call with his original name. He might be calling with some another name like Chanti, any name. Okay, so that is his local name. Okay, when he go into the crowd, when he go into the public, then everyone will call him with his original name, that is Murali only. In the same manner, so if you see here, for example, Chanti is the name which is utilized in his home. So the same name can be utilized in the next home also. There is another kid in the adjacent home. In the next home also there is another kid, and his name is also inside the home. His name might be Chanti, and here also his name is Chanti. In the first home, the kid name is Chanti, and the second next to home, the kid name is Chanti. But when both of them, when they come into the public, they will be called with their public names. In the same manner, whenever in an organization, if you see here, there is an organization. There is an organization. This is the organization, and there is another organization. There is an organization in the sense there is a company. And inside this company, I am having some 10 computers. 10 or 20 computers are there. Okay. So these 10 or 20 computers are equipped with the IP addresses. Will have the IP address to make the communication. Okay. So all these computers will have the IP address with the starting from 192.168.1.0 network. I will discuss about this networking and all the things in the next class. But as of now, so this computer will have 192.168.1.1, and the other computer can have 192.168.1.2, and the third computer will have the same 192.168.1.3, like that. It will be go on up to 255. Now, the opposite company, whatever the opposite company is that they can have their internal IP address as same. The internal IP address is also the same, but whenever they are going into the public, which means that whenever they are making the communication with the internet, they will communicate with the public IPs only. They will not communicate with the private IPs. Private IPs will be used within the organization, but when you go into the public, then you have to utilize the public IPs. So I don't know how many of you are interested in looking into your routers, but when you look into your routers inside your home, whatever the routers that you are having, who are giving you the internet. So if you look into your routers will have two ends. One is public end and the other one is private end. Inside from the public end, you will get the public IP from the internet service provider, and into the private end, which means that whatever the data that is coming into your home, that will be in the private IP addresses. Now the question here is, sir, why we have to divide the IP addresses into public and private? What is the necessity of dividing these IPs into public and private? The necessity is that if you convert this public IPs, so whatever the IP addresses, that is 32-bit IP addresses, right? So total number of IPs that we can generate in IPv4 is 2 to the power of 32. That is equal to 4.2 billion IPs. So what is meant by a billion? Billion means 100 crores. So 4.2 billion IPs, in the sense we can generate up to 420 crores of IPs all around the world. To the entire world, we can provide 420 crores of IPs only. But the world population is 800 crores, which means the double of your IPs. And each and every person is utilizing a laptop, mobile, computer, whatnot, some 10 IoT devices. For each and every IoT device, you require an IP address. Within the home, whatever, within the home or else within the organization, whatever the devices that you are using, you require some IP addresses. Now, there comes the problem. How many number of IPs that the internet service provider or else the old internet service provider is IANA. IANA organization can provide. They cannot provide more than 420 crores of IP. Here, there are somewhere like 1200 crores of IPs are required, but the IPs that are generated are only 400 crores. To overcome this scarcity or else to overcome this problem, what IANA has decided, okay, fine. I will provide some private IPs. You can utilize the private IPs within your organization, so that the entire organization, you might have some 1,000 computers, or else you might have some 100 computers, or you might have some 1 lakh computers also. For 1 lakh computers also, you can utilize the private IPs. For 1,000 computers, you can utilize the private IPs. For 100 computers also, you can utilize the private IPs. So you can utilize the private IPs within the organization. For each and every device, you can have multiple, for the multiple devices, you can have the multiple IPs, multiple private IPs. But when they are coming out, when the request is coming out of your company, that will be pointed, that will be routed towards a single public IP. You can have somewhere like 1,000 computers can have. You can have within your organization, you can have some 1,000 computers, but all the requests will be routed towards a single public IP addresses. So this will make the scarcity of IP addresses less. The limitation of this IP addresses will be less. So the number of IPs required will be less. Now the public IP is only one, and the private IPs will be 1,000. So the 1,000 IPs will be routed to a single public IP. You can get the response from the each and every device. For the each and every device, you can get the response. How we are going to get that is completely a networking thing. That is completely a CCNA thing. So Cisco Certified Network Associate, CCNA, this is a CCNA concept where you can have PAT, port address translation, where each and every private IP will be assigned to a port number of your public IP. So that is altogether a different concept. But here what you need to understand is that to overcome the scarcity of this private IPs, the IP addresses, we are going for the private IPs and public IPs. Private IPs can be used within the organization and public IPs will be used globally. Private IPs are free of cost. You don't need to pay for a single IP address. With private IPs, you can make the communication within the organization. With the private IPs, without paying a single rupee, you can make the communication within the organization. But whenever you are going for the public IPs, you have to pay for the ISPs. internet service providers, you have to pay for the public IPs. So this is the main difference between your private IP and your public IP. So whenever we configure any system, whenever we are running any server, for the server, you will have a public IP, and as well as you will have a private IP. So this is about your public IPs and private IPs and what are the different types of IP addresses that you are having. Now that is about your networking concepts. So this is not complete networking. If you go through the binary to decimal conversions, then we can go with the in-depth analysis of networking like CIDR blocks. So you will have classless inter-domain routing concept, which will be discussed in the next class. Next class will be a prolonged session. I will not say that it will be completed within 40 minutes. We can have a very prolonged session up to 1.5 hour, like 1.5 hour or 2 hours of session will be there, where we will be going with the IP addresses, each and every type of IP, and how the IP addresses is divided, or else how to convert this binary into decimal format and decimal into binary format. Why we have to utilize up to 255 IPs? Why cannot we go for 256 to 512 IPs? Why cannot we go with that number? So this concept we will discuss in the next class. Please go through the conversions. Okay. And in the next class, if possible, I will go with the configuration related to Linux. I will go through some of the basic Linux commands. I am not saying that I will go in depth for the system administration level. I will not go. I will just say you about basics. What is PWD, LS, who am I, and then grep command, cut command, and then what I can say. There are a few more commands that we can understand. I will discuss about all those commands, and user add and user remove, user providing password for the user, providing permissions for the user, octal permissions, and symbolic permissions. These are all the concepts I will try to explain you to make you very more clear about the AWS. So the AWS won't require, pretty much prerequisites are not there for learning AWS. You have to understand the Linux concepts and you have to understand the networking concepts. Why? Because if you want to create a VPC, you need to understand the CIDRs. So see here, I will go back here. I will go to my AWS console. If I want to create, VPC is the primary block of your configurations. So without VPC, you cannot create any server. So VPC is the primary block of your configuration. So I think there is a power cut from my end. Anyways, coming back to this. So that's about the concepts which I want to discuss. If you want to ask me any questions, you can ask me the questions. Now it is all for you. You can ask me the questions. Yeah, go on. Questionnaires, whatever the doubts you have, you can ask me one after the other. And tomorrow we will discuss in depth into the IP addresses and all the things. Questions, guys? See, again, I am saying you this, whether we have to learn all these things, why can't we directly jump into the AWS? If you want to jump into the AWS, yes, we can jump into the AWS and I will explain you each and everything. But to understand that what is a VPC, what is the CIDR block, to understand all these concepts, then definitely you need to have the basic understanding about the networking concepts. Okay, that's the reason why I'm asking you to go through the networking concepts. Questions?
Hi, sir. I just want to know, after completing this course, like which certification can we do? I mean, I'm a developer, so I want
AWS associate level.
associate.
In associate level, Yeah, in associate level, you have three different certifications. One is associate architect and SysOps associate, and you will have the developer associate. You can write the developer associate exam if you are a developer. If you are not a developer, if you are a fresher, you can associate architect level.
Sure.
Not sorry, associate level. That's it. Okay. There are three certifications. One is developer associate, SysOps associate, and the next one is associate level. You can go with the developer associate if at all if you are a developer, and if you are a fresher, you can go with the associate level. And after that, you are having, if at all if you clear this associate level examination, then you can go with the DevOps administrator, SysOps administrator, and DevOps administrator level exams are there. Those are advanced level ones. So as completion of if you complete this course, you can go with the associate level of certifications.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Thank you. Any another questions? I think Ushasri, you are asking some question in the chat box. Can you ask that again?
Nothing, sir. I felt the session was. I joined in between, and I felt the drawings were familiar. So I just wanted to know: is the first session repeating for the new batch starting today, or it's a continuation for the batch from yesterday? That's it. And you replied.
It is a yeah. It is the continuation of the yesterday's class.
Okay.
It is not
Sure.
new.
Yeah, I just wanted that confirmation. That's all. And
Yeah.
will I get the videos for today's and yesterday's session also?
Yeah, you will get each and every day. Every day video will be available. For the demo class, videos are also available for you. Don't worry.
Okay. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. And some other person asked me, can we have the session summarization? So the summarization is like this. In this session, we discussed about the virtualization concepts, what is meant by virtual machines, what are the basic utilizations, on which basis the cloud was implemented. The cloud is implemented on the concept called as virtualization, and then we discussed about what is meant by basic of virtualization. I did not go in depth into the virtualization. Why? Because if you go in depth into the virtualization, there are two types of virtualization. One is hosted virtualization, and the other one is bare metal virtualization. And again, I have to go into that. So I just gave a briefing about the virtualization. And then we have dived into the networking concepts, and we saw about what is meant by IP addresses. And here we did not discuss about what is meant by host, what is meant by network. Tomorrow we will have a clear-cut understanding about what is meant by host and networking concept when we go in depth into the IP addressing concepts. Okay, so that is what I want to summarize. So my request for you is that please go through the concepts, everything, every concept you need to, like a binary to decimal conversion, please go through that concept. Then you can have a clear-cut understanding about your IP addresses. Okay. Yes. Now you can ask me any another question. That is the summary of your session. Course content and course duration. Course duration will be 45 to 50 working days. In general, basically you have to just think that 45 working days, it might be prolonged plus or minus 5 days. Okay. Plus or minus 5 working days. So Saturday and Sunday will be off for you. And course content, you can go to the DURGASOFT.com. There you can see the AWS course content is available. If I have to show, just go through the DURGASOFT.com. There you can see the course content. In the last class, I explained you about the course content also. So if I have to explain you about the course content, you will be going with the VPC configuration. Inside the VPC, you will be going with VPC peering, NAT gateway, VPC endpoints, VPN connectivity, VPC transit gateway, security groups, network firewalls. And then we will be discussing about EC2. And in EC2, we will be discussing about what is EC2. Vishal, can you mute yourself, please? We will be discussing about what is EC2, launch templates, AMIs, Amazon Mission Images, EBS, Elastic Block Storages, and then we will be going into the concepts called as load balancers, network load balancer, application load balancers, auto scaling groups, and then Route 53 configuration, global accelerator, CloudFront, and then Active Directory services like Active Directory managed by AWS and AD connector, Active Directory connector. And then we will be going into S3 buckets, bucket policies, access points, permissions, and S3 lifecycle. And then we will be going with the cloud formation, CloudWatch, RDS configuration, DynamoDB, whatnot. So these are all the services that we are going to cover in this 45 days of sessions. You can go to the DURGASOFT.com, where you can find out the AWS by Chaitanya. There you can have your clear-cut course content. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yes.
Chaitanya, earlier we were talking about certifications, right? So this AWS Cloud Practitioner, that comes at associate level?
No, that is the basic primary beginner
Basic
level of
primary.
certification. That doesn't have any validity also. Validity in the
Okay.
sense, of course, you can do the certification, but I don't recommend you to do that practitioner. It is just a beginner level one. You can go with the associate level. That will be helpful for you to clear your interviews. So it is like, so the interviewers are more interested towards the candidates who has completed the associate level certification, at least.
Okay.
Not the
understood.
practitioner.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Thank you. Any
Hello.
other questions?
హలో
Yes.
సార్ గుడ్ మార్నింగ్ సార్.
Hi.
ఇది
Good morning.
నెట్వర్కింగ్ లో ఓఎస్ఐ మోడల్ అవి కూడా నేర్చుకోవాలా సార్?
అంత దూరం అవసరం లేదండి. మీకు ఓఎస్ఐ మోడల్ మీకు వస్తే చాలు. మీకు 7 layers ఆఫ్ ఓఎస్ఐ రెఫరెన్స్ మోడల్ ఉంటుంది. అందులో అప్లికేషన్ లేయర్, నెట్వర్క్ లేయర్ గురించి బాగా తెలిస్తే సరిపోతుంది. ఎందుకంటే మీకు అప్లికేషన్ లోడ్ బ్యాలెన్సర్ కానీ, నెట్వర్క్ లోడ్ బ్యాలెన్సర్ కానీ, ఏవైనా ఈ 2 లోడ్ బ్యాలెన్సర్స్ మీకు ఒకటి నెట్వర్కింగ్ లేయర్ లో వర్క్ అయితే, ఇంకోటి వచ్చి అప్లికేషన్ లేయర్ లో వర్క్ అవుతుంది. సో ఆ లేయర్స్ లో ఉండే ప్రోటోకాల్స్ ఏంటి అనేది మీకు తెలిస్తే సరిపోతుంది. మరి ఇన్ డెప్త్ గా ఓఎస్ఐ రెఫరెన్స్ మోడల్ అంత దూరం అవసరం లేదు.
ఓకే.
ఓకే.
మళ్ళీ
సో చెప్పాలంటే చెప్పుకోవచ్చు అండి. చెప్పాలి ఇప్పుడు ఓఎస్ఐ రెఫరెన్స్ మోడల్ గురించి చెప్పుకోవాలంటే చెప్పుకోవచ్చు. అదేం పెద్ద ఇదేం కాదు. సో 7 layers లో డేటా ఎలా ఉంటుంది, 3 layers లో సాఫ్ట్వేర్ లేయర్స్ అంటాం, హార్డ్వేర్ లేయర్స్ అంటాం, కోర్ లేయర్స్ అంటాం. వాటి గురించి మళ్ళీ చెప్పాలంటే అది ఇంకొక సెషన్ ఎక్స్ట్రా నెట్వర్కింగ్ కంటెంట్ అయిపోతుంది. అది మొత్తం క్లౌడ్ వదిలేసి నెట్వర్కింగ్ లోకి వెళ్ళిపోయినట్టు ఉంటుంది. ఎనీవేస్ చెప్పాలంటే చెప్పుకోవచ్చు అండి, అదేం పెద్ద విషయం కాదు. ఇంకోటి ఏదో అడుగుతున్నారు
సార్, స్క్రిప్టింగ్ ఇది షెల్ స్క్రిప్టింగ్, పవర్ షెల్ స్క్రిప్టింగ్ అని ఉంటది కదా, అవి రెండు సార్.
అంత షెల్ అంటే మీకు డెవాప్స్ కి అయితే షెల్ అవసరం అండి. డెవాప్స్ వరకు అయితే మీరు డెవాప్స్ నేర్చుకునే పని అయితే షెల్ అవసరం. మనం ఇప్పుడు AWS లోనే ఉన్నాం కాబట్టి మీకు అంత దూరం షెల్ అవసరం లేదు. ఓకే. సో AWS లో మీకు జస్ట్ నార్మల్ గా కొన్ని కమాండ్స్ వస్తాయి. ఆ కమాండ్స్ ఏంటి అనేది నేను అక్కడ కంటెంట్ చెప్పేటప్పుడు చెప్తాను. అక్కడ మీకు ఎప్పుడైతే లాంచ్ టెంప్లెట్స్ కావచ్చు ఇవి చెప్పేటప్పుడు అక్కడ మాట్లాడుకోవచ్చు. అండ్ ఇంకొకటి వాట్ ఐ కెన్ సే హియర్ ఇస్ JSON స్క్రిప్టింగ్ అవసరం అవుతుందండి. JSON, ఓకే, JSON కావచ్చు. YAML యూజ్ చేయము, YAML కూడా యూజ్ చేయము, ఓన్లీ JSON అయితే అవసరం అవుతుంది.
నిన్న మీరు అన్నారు కదా మావెన్ గానీ గిట్ హబ్ గానీ అని,
అది డెవాప్స్ అండి.
ఓకే, డెవాప్స్ లోనండి అది. ఓకే. అది
ఇది కంప్లీట్ గా మీకు AWS.
ఓకే.
ఓకే, గో ఆన్ సారీ.
ఓకే సార్,
చెప్పండి అడగండి, పర్లేదు, ఏదో అడుగుతున్నారు అడగండి. సారీ ఫర్ ద ఇంటరప్షన్. యా, గో ఆన్.
అంటే అది ఇప్పుడు మీరు ఆ AWS ని డెవాప్స్ లో వేసేటప్పుడు నేర్చుకోవాలి, ఆ గిట్ హబ్ అవి అన్నారు కదా.
అది ఈ AWS అనేది మీకు ఇంటరాక్షన్ అన్నమాట. సో AWS నేర్చుకున్న తర్వాత డెవాప్స్ నేర్చుకుంటే మీకు బెనిఫిట్ అవుతుంది అని చెప్తున్నాను నేను, అంతే. సో దాన్ని దీనిలో కంబైన్ చేయదండి. AWS అనేది ప్యూర్ గా క్లౌడ్ ఇన్ఫ్రాస్ట్రక్చర్ గురించి ఉంటుంది. డెవాప్స్ అనేది యూ విల్ హ్యావ్ ద డెవలప్మెంట్ అండ్ ఆపరేషన్స్. రెండు ఒకటి కాదు, దేనికి అవి సపరేట్. ఓకే, బట్ మీరు డెవాప్స్ నేర్చుకున్నమాట.
ఇట్స్ నాట్ ఆడిబుల్. Hello.
What the course that you are doing now, the entire course. Hello. Am I audible?
Your voice is breaking.
Network
voice is breaking. Just give me.
Hello.
Now am I audible? Hello.
Yes sir.
Yeah. So AWS ఇప్పుడు మీరు ఏదైతే whatever the AWS that you are taking training, the AWS will be completely into cloud. Here we are not going to use Git, Maven, ఇవేవి యూజ్ చేయమండి. ఇవన్నీ మీకు DevOps లో వస్తాయి. So whatever the Git tools, Maven tools.
EC2 అన్నారు, VPC అన్నారు, అవన్నీ వస్తాయి సార్?
అవన్నీ వస్తాయండి, అన్ని కవర్ చేస్తాం.
VPC కాన్ఫిగరేషన్, EC2 అని, S3 బకెట్ అని అవేనా వస్తాయి ఇందులో?
అవే వస్తాయండి.
ఓకే. లాంబ్డా ఫంక్షన్స్ అని.
లాంబ్డా ఫంక్షన్స్, EC2 మొత్తం.
ఒకసారి మీరు కోర్స్ గురించి బ్రీఫ్ ఇవ్వండి సార్ ఒకసారి. అది అప్పుడు మాకు బాగా అర్థమవుతది.
కోర్స్ గురించి మీకు బ్రీఫ్ ఆల్రెడీ చెప్పున్నానండి నేను. ఇక్కడ మీరు
అంటే
నేర్చుకునేది
మీరు
సర్వర్
ఇది
కాన్ఫిగరేషన్స్.
రోల్, ఈ డెవలపర్ అసోసియేట్ అవుతారు ఇది చెప్తున్నారు కానీ కోర్స్ గురించి బ్రీఫ్ గా ఇస్తే మాకు అర్థమైంది సార్ ముందు.
బ్రీఫింగ్ అంటే ఎలా అడుగుతున్నారండి? నాకు అర్థం కావట్లేదు. మీకు ఆల్రెడీ నేను బ్రీఫింగ్ అనేది చెప్పేస్తున్నాను. మీకు కంటెంట్ ఏమి ఇస్తున్నాను. ఫస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ఆల్ కంటెంట్ ఏముందో చెప్పున్నాను. దాని తర్వాత ఆ కంటెంట్ నేర్చుకుంటే ఏ జాబ్ రోల్స్కి వెళ్తారో చెప్పున్నాను. దాని తర్వాత మీకు ఈ VPC EC2 ఇవన్నీ మీకు ఇప్పుడు అర్థం కావండి. మీరు ఎప్పుడైతే కోర్సులోకి లోపలికి వెళ్ళి స్టార్ట్ చేస్తారో అప్పుడే మీకు అర్థమవుతుంది. కానీ ఇప్పుడిప్పుడే స్టార్ట్ చేసిన వెంటనే నాకు బ్రీఫింగ్ కావాలంటే కష్టం. ఓకే, సో ఏంటి అసలు ఈ VPC అనేది ఏంటి, ఇవన్నీ మనం ఒకసారి క్లాసెస్, ఈ బేసిక్ క్లాసెస్ అయిపోయిన తర్వాత వెన్ వీఆర్ గోయింగ్ ఇన్ టు ద కాన్సెప్ట్ దెన్ ఐ విల్ మేక్ యూ అండర్స్టాండ్ ఆల్ ద థింగ్స్. ఇప్పుడే మొత్తం అన్ని కావాలంటే కష్టం అవుతుంది. ఓకే,
నేను
సో
అదిగా
ఇప్పుడు ఏదైతే
అలా కాదు సార్ నేను అడిగేది. అంటే VPC వస్తుంది ఇట్లా ఇవి వస్తాయమ్మా అంటే మాకు అర్థమైంది అంటున్నాను సార్ నేను. అంటే ఒకసారి మేమే ఆ కంటెంట్ మొత్తం చూసుకుంటే మాకు అర్థమవుతుంది అంటారా? మీరు కోర్స్ కంటెంట్ అన్నారు కదా.
మీకు కోర్స్ కంటెంట్ ఆల్రెడీ వెబ్సైట్ లో ఉంది ఫస్ట్ థింగ్. ఓకే, సో కోర్స్ కంటెంట్ లో ఏ కాన్సెప్ట్స్ అని ఇప్పుడు మీకు కాన్సెప్ట్ తెలుసుకొని మీరు, ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఒక చిన్న ఎగ్జాంపుల్ చెప్తాను. మీరు అందరు ఇంజనీరింగ్ చదువుకున్నారు. ఐ థింక్ ఎవ్రీబడి ఆర్ engineers or else everybody are graduates here, right? When you join in the class, first of all they will provide you the textbooks. Okay, when they provide you the textbook and you will go through the index law, as I am an electrical student, I have completed my electrical and electronics engineering. I am a triple graduate. Still I am into the computing anyways. So when I used to take my textbook, I will open my textbook and see all the indexes. So when I go through the index, so the course content will be there, right? On the index, the course content will be there. So there you will have the electrical missions, transmission medias, like you will have the transmission cables, how generations of power. So as I'm an electrical student, I'm comparing that. So generation of power and everything will be there. If I see the course content, I will not understand anything. When my faculty says something, when my faculty is explaining me about the concept, then I can understand the concept. So when I come back to this, how these concepts are utilized for the developer, I said you in the last class only. నిన్నటి క్లాస్ లోనే మీకు చెప్పాను, మీకు AWS లో ఏ కాన్సెప్ట్స్ డెవలపర్ కి యూజ్ అవుతాయి, S3 బకెట్స్ యూజ్ అవుతాయి, లాంబ్డా ఫంక్షన్స్ యూజ్ అవుతాయి, RDS కాన్ఫిగరేషన్స్ యూజ్ అవుతాయి, DynamoDBs యూజ్ అవుతాయి అని చెప్పి ఏవేవైతే డెవలపర్ కి యూజ్ అవుతాయో అవి క్లియర్ కట్ గా చెప్తున్నాను. ఏవైతే సిస్టమ్ అడ్మినిస్ట్రేటర్స్ కి యూజ్ అవుతాయో, లైక్ హూ ఎవర్ ఆర్ ఇంటూ అడ్మినిస్ట్రేషన్, క్రియేషన్ ఆఫ్ సర్వర్స్, నాకు ఒక లైనెక్స్ సర్వర్ కావాలి. ఇప్పుడు మీరు అప్లికేషన్ డెవలప్ చేస్తారు, అప్లికేషన్ ఎక్కడ డిప్లాయ్ చేస్తారు? ఆబ్వియస్ గా సర్వర్స్ లో డిప్లాయ్ చేస్తారు. అలా డిప్లాయ్ చేయాలంటే ఏ సర్వర్స్ కావాలి ఏంటి అనేది మీకు అక్కడ సర్వర్స్ కాన్ఫిగరేషన్ వరకు అడ్మినిస్ట్రేటర్స్ తెలుస్తుంది. సో అడ్మినిస్ట్రేషన్ లెవెల్లో AWS ఎలా యూజ్ అవుతుందో అది కూడా ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేశాను నిన్న. సో ఇవన్నీ టాపిక్స్ మీకు ఎక్కడ దొరుకుతాయంటే వెన్ వి గో ఇన్ టు ద సిలబస్, మీకు ఆ సిలబస్ లో VPC కాన్ఫిగరేషన్ ఉంది. ఏంటి అసలు ఈ VPC అంటే ఏంటి, ఇవి మీరు టాపిక్ లోపలికి వెళ్ళినప్పుడే బ్రీఫింగ్ వస్తుందండి మీకు. అంతేగాని ఇప్పుడు స్టార్టింగ్ లోనే మొత్తం చెప్పాలంటే కుదరదు కదా. ఓకే, సో ఫస్ట్ మీరు ఏం నేర్చుకోవాలి అంటే అసలు ఈ VPC కి కూడా మెయిన్ గా బేసిక్స్ ఏం కావాలి. ఇప్పుడు IP అడ్రసింగ్ అనే కాన్సెప్ట్ ఉంది. IP అడ్రసింగే నేను ఎందుకు నేర్చుకోవాలంటే రేపు VPC లో మీరు ఒక నెట్వర్క్ క్రియేట్ చేస్తారు, లాజికల్ గా ఒక పెద్ద నెట్వర్క్ క్రియేట్ చేస్తారు. ఆ నెట్వర్క్ క్రియేట్ చేయాలంటే ఆ IP అడ్రసింగ్ ఎలా యూజ్ అవుతుంది, హౌ వి ఆర్ గోయింగ్ టు యూజ్ ద సైడర్ బ్లాక్స్, వీటన్నిటి కోసం మీకు ఖచ్చితంగా IP అడ్రసింగ్ అనే కాన్సెప్ట్, నెట్వర్కింగ్ కాన్సెప్ట్స్, లైనెక్స్ బేసిక్స్ కావాలి. కాబట్టి ఇవన్నీ చెప్పుకుంటూ వస్తున్నాను. Once it is done, then we can go for the remaining concept. Okay?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any another queries? Anything else you want to ask me? You can ask me now. Regarding the classes, again, I am saying the course duration will be 45 working days, 45 to 50 working days. And every Monday to Friday will be the sessions at 10:30 a.m. And I have given you session timings. Course content will be available in DURGASOFT. You can go to durgasoft.com. There you can see AWS by Chaitanya. There you can find out the entire course curriculum. And I don't know. And one more thing, guys. Again, I want to say you this. Every day you will have the practical explanation only. Again, I'm repeating practical explanation in the sense whenever I'm discussing about the VPC peering, NAT gateway, everything will be deployed and shown. Everything will be shown you in the practical manner. The same concepts you are going to do in your companies only. In the companies also, you are going to do the same thing. So whatever you do in the company perspective, I will try to explain you here itself. Okay, everything will be in the practical manner. It is not a theoretical concept. AWS is not a theoretical concept. So don't expect the notes. You are not the kids. Again, I'm repeating, you are not the kids to write the notes. Sir, we want notes declaration, dictation. Okay, there is no notes dictation, no declarations will be there. So try to find out some notes from the docs.aws.com. There you can find docs.amazon.com. You can have the entire notes for that. Whatever you see in that docs, the same will be reciprocated in the practical. When I discuss about the practicals, the same will be so that will be in the practical manner. You will see that in the theoretical manner. So it will be in a sentence manner in the docs, and here you will do in the practical manner. So that is what I can say. Okay, so that's all about this classes, and that's it. Any another queries you want to ask, you can ask me now. If not, that's all for today. We'll meet in the next session and go through the binary to decimal conversions one, so that you can have a clear-cut understanding about the IP address configurations. Okay. Yes. If you want to ask me anything, you can ask me. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, one last question. So I'm just new to this AWS, and today only I joined this class. So I'm just attending other interviews, and they're asking me more about this AWS. If you attend this AWS course, will I able to catch up the interviews? So is my question.
Easily. Maximum in interviews, what questions you will have, what is meant by IAM. I will discuss about the interview perspective also. At the time of classes, whenever the concept is going on, the interviewer might be asking the questions like this. I will tell you the interview perspective questions also. When you attend for the interviews, the maximum interviewers will ask you what is meant by IAM. What is the difference between network load balancer and application load balancer? What is the difference between security groups and NACL? What is meant by peering? What is meant by NAT gateway? And whether we can configure application load balancer with network load balancer, what is meant by auto scaling groups, Route 53, everything. Whenever we are discussing what is endpoints, whenever we are discussing about the concept at that particular instant only, I will tell you how interviewers can ask the questions in the interview with respect to that particular topic, so that you can have a clear-cut visualization. So this is how the interviews will be going on, and you can easily answer the questions. It is not very difficult for you also. Okay.
Sir. And also
Yes.
this DevOps part also, do we need to learn, sir, for this AWS and AWS?
See, DevOps is a separate thing, guys. Don't like what I want to say here is you are learning only the basics of cloud. DevOps is the integration of the cloud with your applications. So if you learn DevOps, see, again, the interview perspective, if you go to the interviews, 90% of the interviews will be with the combination of cloud and DevOps. So with only if you have a basic knowledge of cloud, if you have knowledge in AWS, 10% of jobs are there. But if you have the knowledge on AWS and DevOps, again, I'm saying AWS and DevOps, which means that I'm not reducing the student capacity of my classes, but yes, if you have knowledge of AWS and DevOps, then 90% of the chances are there to crack the interviews, to attempt for the interviews, at least to get shortlisted for the interviews. Go through the Naukri.com, Monster, Indeed, any job searching platform you go, everybody are asking that AWS is mandatory, and then Git, Jenkins, Terraform, Docker, Ansible. These are the 6 topics that they are asking. Here you are learning AWS. In my session, in my class, you are learning AWS. Once you complete the AWS, then only you can go for the DevOps. It is like an interlink. So without completion of AWS, you cannot go for the DevOps. If you go for the DevOps directly, then you will face a problem in the DevOps. So what you have to do, you have to complete AWS, and then you can go for the DevOps. So with the combination of both, like you are having knowledge on AWS and as well as you are having the knowledge on DevOps and DevOps tools, then you will be able to crack the interview very easily. And first of all, your resume will be shortlisted. If you have both knowledge, AWS and DevOps knowledge, your resume will be very easily shortlisted. And then once you attend the interview, you can crack the interview. Okay. One of the best example I can give here is one of my offline student got a package of 7 lakhs per annum in PaperSoft Solutions. There is some XYZ that he said to me about that. Paper Solutions or PaperSoft Solutions, he said about that. So he got a 7 lakhs package. So that's not what I'm saying here is you need to have both the knowledge. That's what I can finally say.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I'm expecting that only. So whether we should learn that also, just ask. Thank you for that.
Yeah, you need to learn both. Okay, but
Okay.
learning DevOps directly is not recommended. First of all, complete the cloud, then go for the DevOps. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's it.
Chaitanya, it's me, Usha Sri.
Yeah.
Then how about I'm a Java developer and I just started AWS. So will this work out? Will this land me in the next?
Obviously, you are a Java developer.
So only associate level, I finish the course, take some time, clear the certification. Is this, will it put me in some place?
Yeah. So
it should,
how many years of experience do you have?
It's around 7 years in Java. Around 5 years
That
in
sounds
C,
interesting.
2 years in C and 5 in Java.
That sounds interesting. So once you complete your course, what I'm saying, you can expect that you will clear-cutly understand the cloud environment. You can integrate this cloud environment with your Java softwares. So once you complete the associate level, you will have an experience of AWS cloud, and you already have 7 years of experience in the development side. Obviously, it will put you in a place where you are expecting. Okay, so after that, if you try to complete the DevOps also, again I'm saying, so I'm not going to take DevOps classes online right now. I don't have any classes, but for your sake I am saying, okay, for your sake I am saying, if you complete the AWS, and in DevOps you will have some tools, like you are a developer, right? You are a developer. When you are developing the code, you will use Git. Okay, that is for the source code management. You will use Maven. You will use Maven for building your Java tools or a Java application, and you will use SonarQube for the bug fixes, and you will use somewhere like Selenium tools. All this will comes in the DevOps. So as a developer, you already have exposure towards all these things. You can have a brief understanding about what happens in the backend. As a developer, you only know about building the application, but how applications are deployed in the Docker, how applications are managed with the Ansible. These are all the things you will understand once you go with the DevOps also. So to learn that, you need to have basics of AWS. So again, I'm saying this. So what makes you a better choice for the recruiters is that you are a very good developer, and as well as you have a very good knowledge in both the sessions like AWS, and you know how to integrate this infrastructure with your developed code. Then you can have a very good opportunities when if you apply for any another companies. I hope you got your answer for your question. Is that what you are expecting? I hope that
some more
I deliver that
extension
same.
to it. After the certification, will they ask experience?
No.
Yes, you're certified but not experienced.
You are certified and you are experienced. You are experienced as a software engineer, right?
No, sir, not like that. Not in this term. See, yes, you are just certified, but you don't have an experience of AWS. Will that situation creep in?
No, that's not the point. You have the exposure towards IT, right?
Yes.
You have the exposure towards information technology, how the application works. You know about that.
Yeah,
Now you are learning about how. Yeah, you completely know about the software terminologies, and software exposure is there. So you will not be considered as a fresher when you go with this this knowledge also. Yeah, you will be considered as an experienced only. In your field, you will be considered as an experienced, but when you come to the AWS, you will not be considered as a fresher there also. Why? Because you have the exposure towards how operations will be done. You will have knowledge about this. You have the knowledge about that, right?
Yes.
But you will go in depth into that. So they will not consider you as a fresher. You have an additional knowledge of AWS certification. You have an additional knowledge of AWS and DevOps. That is additionally added skill set for you. Okay, as a developer, you already an established employee, you already have an experience. This is an added asset for your resume. So when you apply for the company, these are the assets. Okay, she is a developer, and we have another assets also there, so we can choose her. So the selection process will become very easier to select you. Okay, they won't go for in-depth questionnaires and multiple rounds will not be there. They might be simply select you. So these are all the added assets for the developers who are working, not only developers who are experienced in IT. Okay, you will be considered as a experienced only. You are not considered as a fresher.
Okay.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's it from my side.
That's it. Okay, fine. Any another? I hope I answered all your queries. I just want to know any person is from US or UK. I just want to know. I think Vishal, you are from US, right?
That's true.
Okay.
Yes, Chaitanya, I'm from US. Yeah.
Why?
Texas.
Why? Because no, that's fine. You are from US. That's it. That is what.
Yeah.
Why? Because whenever we are into some of the configurations like Route 53 and all the things, just one or two concepts. Sometimes we will be configuring servers that regarding US, whether the US clients are able to access or not. So I just want to know who are from US and UK, so that we will have a pretty much understanding about the concept. So that is the reason why I'm asking. Anyways, thank you for that. And I hope you understand the session. We will go in depth into tomorrow onwards. We will not. I hope that there won't be any questions on this basic criteria. So tomorrow onwards, I expect the questions on the session only. If you have any queries also, I don't have any problem to answer for that. So I can repeat for n number of times also, I can repeat it for you. But anyways, I hope you understand the session. So tomorrow we'll discuss about the IP addressing. Please come with the knowledge of binary to decimal number conversion. Then we can go in depth into the IP addressing concept. That's all for today. Have a nice day, and we'll meet in the next session. Bye, guys.
Thanks, Chaitanya. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.